It's the beginning of the Easter weekend as celebrated by Christians. This year's Easter holiday coincides with Pastor Noel Jones' visit to South Africa. Well, as you know, Pastor Noel Jones is the senior pastor of the City of Refuge Church in Gardena, California, and is now here to chat with us. Bishop, I'm so honored to be in your presence. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, I'm glad to be here, certainly.
Well, it sounds like this is not your first time in South Africa.
Oh,
You're a citizen of South Africa.
Well, just about. I probably will come back 3 more times this year.
Yeah, and what do you love so much about South Africa?
Everything. I love the people primarily. I think places are made primarily of people. And then, of course, the scenery, the beauty, the relaxation. I think it's not as boisterous as being in Los Angeles.
Right.
Yeah.
And I suppose, this particular, visit is significant to you. Why? What would you say entails your visit, this time out?
Well, I guess it's just another point of view. It's just another take on the whole Easter program. No one of us has it all, and that's why we fellowship. That's why we intermingle as Christians, because God gives revelation in part to various different people. And in order to grasp the fullness of what he is about, you have to interact with other people. It's like business and networking, is to find out those things that you don't know or you wouldn't think about that other people process in their relationship with God. And I think that's a very important thing.
I think another important thing, Bishop, is that, Easter weekend is the perfect time for, everyone around the world to understand, the coming, the death as well as resurrection of Christ. And some would argue that, there used to be a distinction, in a certain way that Christians used to live as well as the pop culture that we have, today. But what do you think, how do you think one can strike the balance between how we live our lives today and also being Christian?
Well, the whole point about Christianity is that Christianity knows no norm. There is no circumstance or situation that normalizes Christianity, because what God is saying essentially is that there is nothing in your environment that is normative to me. What I need to do is put you in my environment, which means that no culture, which means no generation can dictate to the next generation how they view Jesus Christ. So each generation has to reinterpret the scriptures in light of its contemporary situation to find the solutions in Jesus Christ. My Father's wisdom means nothing to me if I can't apply it to the culture in which I live. And that becomes quite significant. I remember years ago when I was married, years and years ago, we're driving in the car with the kids, and my ex-wife didn't want to hear any of their music. Because it's secular music, it's ungodly music. But when it came to the music she grew up on, she wanted to hear that on the radio, you see. So we have a tendency to think that our generation supersedes all generations, but that's false.
And, recently in South Africa, there was an outbreak of prophetic prophets coming out, and the religious commission was then probed into just how exactly pastors account for some of the actions that happen in churches. And the outbreak saw some of the pastors feeding people snakes, some having them, not forcing them necessarily, but encouraging them to drink petrol, and also saying that all these things are miraculous acts. Would you say that we live in times where the world is yearning for miracles, that it is hungry for change in their lives? Hence, people are willing to go to extremes to see miracles happen in their lives.
Well, one of the things that is quite apparent, and that is that we live on sensationalism. And we seek sensationalism as an answer to operating within the parameters of a Christian environment. But that's not true. The sensational temptation to Jesus Christ, the first temptation was, of course, to see whether or not he would succumb to his hunger and bread. Then he moves into sensationalism. And that is, okay, since you love God, I tell you what you do. You jump off this building, the temple, the pinnacle of the temple, and your angels will catch you.
Right.
Well, then he turned around and said, why are you tempting God? So he said, I won't tempt him. So why are you tempting God with swallowing patrol and snakes? Because people go for the sensation. But it's the everyday, mundane, living your life, overcoming all of the challenges. That's what depicts and indicates the presence of God in your life. You don't have to be sensational. The prophet is not to sit down and predict and call people out and name sicknesses all right, you're that good and you're that true. Well, we know where people are sick. They're sick in the hospital.
Right.
Go down and call out sicknesses, heal people there, and let the doctors check them. That's what Jesus did.
Absolutely.
He said, go show yourself to the priest.
Yeah.
I want to prove to you that you're healed. Sensationalism is not the answer.
Yeah, and unfortunately we've run out of time, but before I let you go, what message would you like to send to, South Africans and Africa across the board, especially during this Easter?
During these times, I would say you take Easter to understand that the substratum of Christianity is sacrifice. But don't fool yourself. Once you have given your all, there is a resurrecting power that comes with it. And I would say to everyone, it doesn't matter what your level of life is, it doesn't matter where you find yourself, at the end of the day, always believe that wherever I am, I can be resurrected psychologically, financially, intellectually. It's there for me to receive.
Amen. Thank you so much, Bishop Noel Jones, for coming. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Well, that's Bishop Noel Jones, of course, paying us a visit right here on Morning Live. And he's in South Africa, of course, for the Easter weekend. Very pleased to have him. However, on that note, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll have more for you. You're watching Morning Live.
He set up a situation for revelation and called it Jesus. And what you're going through now is him setting up a situation to give you a revelation that the devil can't stop you, because you are a child of God, and there is more than enough if you just shake off your mama, shake off your papa, shake off your friends, shake off your enemies, and put on God.